Evening, everybody. How's it going? It's me, Comic Crack. I'm not going to be on. I'm not going to be on the show tomorrow. I think it's just going to be Damien and Rasa this week on one of the two channels. I was teaching today. My wife is teaching a course online all day tomorrow, so I'm helping her set that up. And then because it's online, I just won't be able to take up any of the our limited Winnipeg downtown internet speed that'll interrupt her class tomorrow. So taking the week off, gonna come back next week hopefully. But I did want to just kind of do a quick catch up on things that I've been reading this week and just talk about a couple of books I picked up. I didn't do a ton of reading. Comic Board, how's it going, man? Thanks for being here. I've started in on the Mobius books. So I'm 3 volumes in. And I started with 0. So this is the Horny Goof, which is kind of a collection of Ragamuffin. How's it going, man? This is kind of a collection of his, even Mobius himself talks about that this is kind of his underground comics inspired work, his Crumb inspired stuff. It's a lot of fun, ridiculous, as you can probably tell from the phallic front cover. You get kind of what's pictured here. It was a great read. And then volume 1 was Upon a Star. Oh, AFPC, how's it going, man? This one was the one that he did for the car company that then he kind of elaborated on, and it just kind of grew from there. So that was an enjoyable read, even though I think that stuff was collected in the hardcover that Dark Horse did as well. And then, the arguably one of the ones that he's most famous for, his Arzak stuff in volume number 2. And again, it's beautiful stuff. Just seeing this art again and kind of reading these stories or looking through these stories again. It's amazing how much, I'm not saying anything that people don't already know, but it really is amazing how much his art adapts and is able to kind of change depending on what he's doing, right? Yeah, AFPC, I don't know if you saw it. I've got the whole Epic series now. So that's the rest of the stacks there. So I've got all of them now, except for, I guess there was a half issue, and I'm currently reading the Airtight Garage, so Mobius Volume 3 there. I want to read them all. I'm kind of diving in back to back, really just kind of fully absorb myself in his world there. But it's great to see his style kind of change even throughout these first few volumes. I think they started off the series. 0 didn't come out first. I don't know when it came out in kind of the publication history of the Epic stuff, but it's nice to kind of these 3 to open up this whole series. I think are really, really well put together. Just kind of giving you a kind of broad view of stuff. I thought it was a bit strange to start with, to have volume 1 as this Upon a Star. I get it, because probably at that time, I think it said in that one that up until this point, it was never published in English. So I guess to kind of right out of the gate appeal to those Mobius fans in North America, why not give them something that they've never seen before, never been able to read before if they have seen it? So it makes sense, I guess, at the time. In hindsight, it's one of those things you'd think you'd want to start out with kind of the strong stuff that but it does make sense, I guess, reading that little bit of an intro there. So that's been a lot of fun. I picked up some things. We'll talk about these ones afterwards. I picked up some things from my favorite place, Red River Bookshop. I was there a couple of times, and I was just there this afternoon. So I taught a class this morning. We finished a bit early. It was supposed to go till 4, went till about 3:30. So I was able to, on my way to my car, because it's like a couple of doors down, basically, from Red River Bookshop where I was teaching. And I was able to stop in just before they closed. I've been watching the kayfabe guys are going back to doing their shoot interviews. They had one with, or the two most recent ones anyway. One was with Jeff Darrow, and then the most recent one was with Brian Boland. So those are fantastic. I like the Darrow one a little more. The Boland I never actually finished, so I started watching more of it tonight. And just on the part where he's showing some of the original art from the Tank Girl stuff that he did. Incredible, beautiful, beautiful stuff. But talking about the Jeff Darrow stuff just got me thinking of Shaolin Cowboy. And I think in another, when they were, because they're also starting to do their weekly kind of wrap up videos that they used to do, where they just kind of sit. It's great seeing Tom Scioli in the mix now again. He's probably, they all seem like pretty decent dudes, but Tom, there's something about Tom that I love listening to him talk and love his excitement and stuff. He always has something kind of good to add to the conversation. In one of them, they started talking about when they were showing, because they did a KY jelly. They did an episode where they looked at an issue of Shaolin Cowboy, and Jim pulled out Dark Horse Presents. So I wanted to stop into Red River because I know that they have a bunch of Dark Horse Presents in the bins, and I was able to find it. So issue number 19 with introducing Bourbon Threat. Now, I don't know if, let's just have a look, because I've got a couple of other issues here, because I picked up 4 issues from Dark Horse Presents today. So I don't remember if this was the very first time that Jeff Darrow was in the series. They cited it on their channel as kind of like the first introduction to a North American audience of Jeff Darrow, even though he was kind of known in France and that sort of thing. So this was really, really great to find. It was a couple of bucks because it's not necessarily like a key issue. And you get just kind of a very, well, I'm about to say simple, but it's far from simple. Just a black and white story of a guy fishing in the desert. And then this, yeah, I hear that, AFPC. I totally hear that. Fishing in the desert, and the character kind of is an early version of the Shaolin Cowboy. And he's, of course, catches something, and everything just kind of takes off from there. But hopefully that's showing up well on my Winnipeg internet. Really, really great. I'm very glad. As I was thumbing through them, he had quite a few in a row. And then as it started getting closer to issue 19, there was some gaps, and I started getting a little disappointed. But lo and behold, this puppy was still there. So as usual, reaffirms in my mind that Red River Bookshop is just an absolute treasure of a book and comic store to have in town. Yeah. There's some more of that there. A giant hot water bottle pulls out of there, comes out of the ground after he's caught his child. Really, really beautiful. So that was a fantastic find. I also managed to pull issue number 10 of Dark Horse Presents, which I guess I didn't realize till afterwards when I started punching things into my CLZ. I guess this is a bit of a hot issue because of the mask. It's kind of the first version of what turns into the Jim Carrey The Mask movie. So I guess this is key issue collector alert. Better get it slabbed. So that's cool. I'm looking forward to digging into these again. There's some Mr. Monster in this, no, Soul Survivors in this one, and of course Concrete in this issue as well too. So I grabbed that, issue number 10, and then he had issue number 14, so I grabbed that, and then issue number 18 as well. So I sat and read issue number 19, and another one that kind of took me by surprise was this Bob the Alien. A story was pretty great, actually. Rich Rice, is that the name there? Bob the Alien, yeah, Rich Rice. Story, art, and lettering by Rich Rice. I was really digging the style. I'm digging the loose style. The story itself is pretty entertaining. It's almost like a daily strip, and it's, because there's all these gags that kind of happen, and it's just collected into one story. So really, really funny, actually. Very, very good. So I'm looking forward to reading more Bob the Alien. Yeah, I mean, people say that about Shaolin Cowboy, and I don't know. I mean, I've always been a fan. I like that he does. I like what he did with the series. The original series is fantastic, no doubt about it. I like the later stuff too, though, because even in that kayfabe video, they show those two issues where basically it's just a zombie fight through the whole thing. I mean, that's what he's doing, right? Like, I think some of the things that people think that it falls off on is because they're not kind of on board with the idea to begin with to some degree. They like seeing his art, and I feel like that there's expectations there where Darrow is just doing what Darrow wants to do, which is kind of an action scene, and he wants to kind of take these moments, specifically in that two issues where it was just a zombie fight. I thought that was a fantastic idea. I remember that when that was coming out, and even looking back on it now, really, really, I think it probably ticked off a number of people. I can totally understand why, feeling like they didn't get a story. But the thing is, you're there for Darrow because you're there for kind of, in my mind, if it's just a Darrow creation, not him working with somebody else, you're there for the art, you're there for the vision. The Shaolin Cowboy stuff has a whole bunch of ridiculous things going on, even in the first series, right? So, yeah, but I totally understand that. Yeah, man, it's seriously, it's the place that if anybody ever came to visit, that would be one of the first places that I would take them to. Like I've said before, the prices aren't always the best. He does pretty good deals. He'll knock off quite a bit of money off of stuff the more that you buy. The other stack that I got from him, a small one, I think he ended up knocking like 20-25 bucks off of my final kind of price, and I'll kind of talk about those now. So I had a couple of things in a list, and then I found some Vertigo stuff, and then I got a couple of graphic novels, because they were like five. They turned out to be like $5 a piece. So I had this in my list. What is face? What is the face? And I didn't remember why the hell I had it in there. So it's this. I have a running list on my phone. So if I'm watching videos, if I'm watching, especially people, like AFPC videos or Gore Vidal videos, or kayfabe stuff, or just people showing what they find in bins, I just make notes, and I could not remember for the life of me why the hell I put this on my list, but I grabbed it out of the bin anyway and added it to the stack. And yeah, you're exactly right, AFPC. It's Ditko. It's pure Ditko. I think it was 3 issues. And it's goddamn gorgeous. I haven't sat and read this issue yet. It's on the shopping block for tonight, probably, to sit and dive into. But it's beautiful black and white Ditko for the first half of the story, and then it's a reprint of I think it's a crime does not pay, or crime doesn't pay, story in the back. And like I said, I'm pretty sure there was only 3 issues of this from a company called Ace Comics. So again, if you're seeing it, like when I pulled it out of the bin, saw it on my phone, pulled it out of the bin, and I looked at the cover, I was kind of drawn to it, but then I was also kind of like, oh, that's a kind of a horrible cover. So I almost put it back because I couldn't remember. Hello, Gore Vidal, if I didn't say that already. How are you? Yeah, I've been reading a little bit of that AFPC. I haven't followed it super closely. Um, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with that. Yeah, I mean, I don't have much to say about it. I don't, because like I said, I haven't followed the full details of the story. So so then the other half, yeah, no, that was the thing. I'd never heard of it either. Zesty Clam. It was only because of kind of watching stuff. So, yeah, Crime Does Not Pay, number 47 from 1949, art by George Tuska, is the backup story in this one. There was a couple of collections of the Crime Does Not Pay stuff that had come out a number of years ago. I used to have a volume of it. I didn't mind it, but I ended up selling it in one of the mini conventions that I was set up at, taking stuff from the collection to kind of pad the table filled with eye candy. So yeah, that's a cool one. Pretty great. Yeah, I don't know anything about Ace at all, so they're absolutely on my list to see. From what I understand, the little bit that I understand there, Gore, is he's saying that Disney was suing them. I thought it was the other way around. I thought that the Ditko estate was suing Disney to try to get a cut of the royalties and to get them almost to, like, was it not necessarily a cease and desist, but like to try to get their portion of Ditko's created characters. I think that's kind of what was rehashing from there. A couple of other things that I found. He had it's funny because this place has a ton of bins and a ton of comics in there. No matter how many times I go in, he's bugged me about it a couple of times that, I'm amazed that you keep finding stuff in here. But that's because I go with very specific things that I'm looking at. I rarely just go kind of row by row, comic by comic. But he actually had a section that was miscellaneous Vertigo, just never seen before. And in there, I found issue 1 and 2 of the Vertigo Winter's Edge, the holiday special. So this is 1998. And I've been looking for these for a while. I've heard that the third issue isn't as strong, but these first two apparently are fantastic. I haven't read either of these ones yet. So there's kind of who the creators are, and we get Sandman, we get the Invisibles, Nevada, the Minx, Sandman Mystery Theater, House of Secrets, Books of Magic, Hellblazer, The Dreaming, and a Preacher interview is what you get here. And then he had issue number 2 of Winter's Edge, so from 1999, with a beautiful Mike Allred cover, and same thing, just an anthology, just a collection. Here's the Nevada stuff in here. Just a collection, some short stories. I believe they were only published here. I don't think these are reprints from anywhere else. So that's pretty cool. And then the other Vertigo that I did read, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was a really great issue because it had some Shade the Changing Man in it. So Vertigo Jam, I think there was only ever this one issue. And the beautiful thing about this, it's a great story, first of all. The Shade the Changing Man, Peter Milligan writing, and Mike Allred on art, Laura Allred on color, Todd Klein letterer. A really great story of Shade and the gang in the woods, and a preacher has just died, and Shade has done his best to kind of usher him off into his other life and give him some visions so he could die with a smile on his face. And one of the women is disgusted at that because with some of his dying words, he was telling about all the kind of horrible things that he did, sleeping with a bunch of women and then kind of preaching to other people how they should lead such a kind of the perfect life, but he wasn't. He was gambling and sleeping with women and boozing it up. And so the vision that Shade gives him to kind of send him on his way is of devils and that. So I guess he dies knowing that he's being punished, which kind of reaffirms his belief in God and goodness and stuff. So a pretty great one, pretty great story there. So this one is from 1993. It's also great to see some of the ads, like McKeever's Extremist, Milligan and McKeever, a great miniseries, which makes me want to reread it again. Yeah, it was really, really great. I loved this Hellblazer story here as well, as they're sitting drinking and just kind of telling a story from his past. Thought that was really great. So yeah, well worth picking up if you find this Vertigo Jam. And then the other thing, I'll just kind of see what I'm missing here. Love when they put different artists on those characters. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I mean, it makes me wish that there was more Allred, Shade the Changing Man. It also makes me want to revisit that series again. Um, Love the Shade arc where John Constantine turns up and they all travel back in time to the Salem witch trials. Yes. 64-page special. How are you? I think that's all that I've missed there. So the last two things that I read. Oh no, three things actually. Let's go to this one. AFPC might know about this one. So Matt Howarth is a creator that I know. I'm not an enormous fan of. I've read some of his stuff here and there. I don't have a lot of it. His style sometimes I enjoy it, and sometimes it just doesn't quite do anything for me. But there's a 3-issue series called Uberdub from Brave New Worlds, and I only found issue number 2. And I grabbed it because on the cover and one of the characters in it is Konrad Schnitzler, which, you know, I wasn't really sure what to think seeing that on the cover, if this was what the story was here. Wow, it's really playing with the light there, those colors. But he's a main character in here, and it kind of talks about the band that he was with. It's sort of, it comes from the Post Brothers and Savage Henry world of characters, which I've read a couple of Post Brothers stuff. I've never read, I don't think I've ever read a Savage Henry. I mean, it's a world that I wouldn't mind diving into a little bit more, but like I said, there's some times where I'm just not completely sold on his art style. I appreciate it. I appreciate the simplicity and stuff. So here we have Schnitzler visiting a friend of his, and just kind of, trying to figure out what happened to this woman in the band, and his kind of bandmate Cthulhu. So they start talking into speaking about that mythology and talking about the band and things. So yeah, it was a fun, quick read. Yeah, I wouldn't mind checking out the other 2 issues, just kind of get more of the story. But even with that, there's sometimes with this kind of stuff where I feel like I can still jump in and understand. This one I did feel a bit lost because there was references to a lot of different characters and kind of story points and plot points from previous books that I just have no idea about. So I did feel a little bit lost. It doesn't really stand alone. And then finally, the 2 graphic novels that I got that I absolutely loved. Doctor Strange and the Sorcerer's Supreme. It's a 12-issue series collected in 2 kind of these thinner graphic novels. And like I said, $5 a piece. I can't say no to that. The art is gorgeous. So the main draw for me, beyond it being a Doctor Strange story, is that Spirit Rider is in this series as well. Because I'm reading that new Spirit Rider series, there's reference back to this one in the first issue. So I wanted to see kind of where she came from and where and kind of what this story was about. It starts off kind of, it's a multiverse kind of story again, where they're introducing Doctor Stranges throughout time and space. He ends up interacting with the Ancient One when the Ancient One was really, really young. But then the beautiful thing is you get some of this really stunning art mixed in here as well. And the art just kind of, it gets wilder and wilder as the story goes on. Gorgeous, gorgeous stuff. And a super entertaining story. It feels like there's a little bit of references to other things. These characters really remind me of Corbin characters from some of his books. There's a mindless one in here, but he's called the mindful one. That's kind of this almost robot-like entity that's under the beck and call of people. See if we can find some other pages here. Yeah, and there seems to be a mix of styles as well too. This is another pretty good page there with the use of color and kind of their spirits moving through time to another kind of dimension we'll jump to the second issue as well too. So there's the Spirit Rider here. So I guess she had her first appearance in one of these as well too. And it's one of those books where I feel like I would double dip, that I wouldn't mind finding, since it's only a 12 issue series. I wouldn't mind finding the single issues just to have them as singles as well too, and kind of be able to sit and maybe open up the pages a little more for stuff like this, you know, because these graphic novels, they're always a little tight, I find. What else do we got in here? Find you a couple other pages. Oh yeah, that was the other thing that I want to talk about in this one too. There's one issue here. It looks like it's the final issue of this first book, so issue number 6. They do a choose your own adventure issue, and it actually works pretty well. So you kind of, Doctor Strange is trapped, and who is he going to try to free first, as they're all kind of having their own separate fights. And at the end of the page, when you turn to the next page, or whichever one you've chosen, at the bottom, it gives you a few options, and you can move through the story. You'll get sent back as well to the beginning to start again. You can read it just straight through as well. You don't need to do the choose your own adventure thing, but I thought it worked surprisingly better than I thought it would. As much of a gimmicky kind of an idea that is, it was kind of fun, to be honest. So I was digging that quite a bit. And all of these kind of green and black striped creatures, I thought were just visually really, really nice. Yeah. Yeah, I'm a couple of issues into that New Defenders as well. I think it's only been 2 issues, right? Um, I mean, the other where I'm really enjoying the art. I don't really know what to say about the story. There hasn't really been anything that I've retained from the story. And I mean, honestly, to be, you know, not to be too rough and brutal on this, like, it's kind of along the same lines with this. Like, it's a fun enough story. The story moves the plot ahead fine, but honestly, I'm here for the art. There were some great moments in it for sure that I did enjoy. Like I said, that choose your own adventure issue I thought was pretty fun, a fun idea. Seeing the Ancient One as a youngster, and not realizing everybody else who are kind of Sorcerer Supremes from different time periods obviously know who the Ancient One is, but he's still at a point where he doesn't know what he becomes. And I thought that was kind of clever. Howard the Duck makes an appearance in here for a little bit. So they're really pulling out all the stops here. See if we can find these pages I thought were fantastic as well. And then using that lettering of the snap, snap, snap of the hands, and then having some imagery inside there, I thought was pretty fun. What else? Yes, that's right. Her brothers, one of the characters' brothers' spirits, they find him, and there's a nice effect, like a sketchy kind of effect on that. And again, good use of color. So who do we have here? Thompson, Rodriguez, and Stockman. Let's get their names right. So Javier Rodriguez, penciler, issues 7 to 9. Issues 10 to 12 is Nathan Stockman on art. Inkers, let's see, colorists. So Tamara Bonvillain for number 10, and Jim Campbell from 11 to 12. And then Jordi Belair for the other ones. So a good mix of colorists. And again, really, really good use of color along with kind of the artwork itself. I think match up really nice. See if there's a couple other pages in here. Here we go. This one too. So same kind of effect, just on a much bigger scale, with all of these spirits basically that have been trapped in this prison by Merlin, who together created this one big entity that basically is like the big bad for the series, right? So yeah, really nice stuff though. Hopefully you can see that. So super fun. I'm really glad I picked it up. I don't know if I would have grabbed it because I mean, when it came out on the shelves, it was $23.99 American. There's no way in hell I would have given it a try for that price, but for $5, it's kind of a no-brainer. And then so the story kind of wraps up around issue 10-ish or whatever, and then it sort of has a kind of a couple of issues where I don't know, man. It feels a bit like a filler. We get everybody's favorite X-Men that I can't really stand, but that's fine. It's only for a single issue, and then it sort of wraps up. So it's good to get the bit of the context of the Spirit Rider for the continuing of the new stuff that's coming out. So it was worth it for that. Oh, and the last thing I should show. So I sent, when I was out for Free Comic Book Day, I found a free comic book, GPAP. Holy shit, man. Hello. When I was out for Free Comic Book Day, I came across My Favorite Thing is Monsters Free Comic Book Day. Gus, Mind the Comics, had said in a video that he would love to read that issue. It's nothing that he's been able to find over there. So when I found it, I snatched it up and I mailed it to him. He was nice enough to send me a couple of books back. And the extra special thing about these is that he has a couple of stories. He has one story in each of these that he's written. So this is Zona Zero and Zona Negra. So an anthology, obviously not in English, but super, super cool to flip through. Like really, really great to see kind of these different styles. Let's go to his story here. Here we go, page 14 in this issue. So this is Gus's story here, 25/12/1914. So he wrote it, and then the artist, Manuel Morgado, is the artist on this one. So this was such a nice gift. Like, I said to him, you don't have to send me anything. But then I said, of course, I'm not going to say no. Why would I ever say no to a gift from somebody? So I was glad to send him the Free Comic Book Day. It made it to him in one piece, which I was really happy about. It took quite a while to get to him, but such a great gift. Gee, if you're watching this on replay, I really, really love these quite a bit, just to see the different styles of art. And again, it feels like this is just a small group of people that decided they wanted to do an anthology and put something together themselves. Like, check this stuff out. Really great, man. Kind of classic cartoony stuff there. And they're sort of magazine size-ish. They're just a little bit smaller. And then, speaking of Darrow, there's a little bit of similarities there for sure, but gorgeous stuff. So that's this issue. Sort of Kung Fu Panda take here at the back. And then the other one that he sent me was this one. So Zona Negra. And let's see. Oh, there's a great, here we go. The centerfold here of Frankenstein's monster. And let's see, what page is his story on? Paulo, Bruno. And I think this one, he was telling me in a message on Twitter. So page 43. This one is basically lyrics to a song. He sent me the name. He sent me a link to the video itself. I don't remember the song, unfortunately. Does it say it in here? No, it just has his name, and then the art is somebody named Phil, F-I-L, and then there's a letterer as well to Tom Jobin. So that's the black and white image on this one, or the strip rather in this one. I love getting anthologies. I love getting comics from around the world. It's amazing. It's the first Portuguese comic that I have in my collection. and probably the only two that I'll have in my collection. But I absolutely love it. So thank you again, G. I really appreciate that. Let's show you a couple other things in this issue as well, too. Sunday Zombie Sunday. I know I'm missing a bunch of chat. Here you go. Insane. So yeah, this is the same artist as the previous one, the guy in the desert. Pretty great kind of minimal style of someone peeling his head off basically and growing a new head. I thought this one was fun too. Each page is a different letter, using that letter to kind of create the panels and tell the story. I think it spells out alien. Then we get to kind of the final section of it. So yeah, beautiful. Super thrilled. That's it. My son and I, we watched 400 Blows today. My son and I are going through my Criterion Collection movies, and we're starting with 400 Blows. And it was so enjoyable for me to watch again, and especially sitting there with him and kind of watching this movie. He enjoyed most of it. He felt that some parts were a little slow, which I can totally understand. I loved it from second one right into the very end. I've seen it before, but I haven't seen it in a long time, and it was just great to kind of sit there with him, because there's some stuff that Antoine Doinel does in the movie that, you know, my dad has told me that he did when he was a kid. And then there's things that Antoine Doinel does specifically, like forging his mom's signature. I completely remember doing that, forging my mom's handwriting to bring in notes when I would skip school or whatever. So it was a really, really such a good movie, man. Like, such a good movie when he's sitting there kind of talking to the psychologist at that boys' school, basically, that, you know, where they're kind of analyzing him, and he's telling just kind of all these moments. You really just at that moment get the sense of what this kid's life was. And then obviously Truffaut as well, because that was his life. It's based on his life and stuff. Unfortunately, I don't own any of the other movies following the character throughout his life. It'll be something that I look for online to see if I can find him, because now, even if he doesn't watch the rest with me, I really want to see the whole thing. I think I've seen most of it back when I was living in Ontario. Me and my friend Paul were kind of going through movies, and I'm pretty sure we watched all of them, maybe minus one or two of them. So that was really, really great. Next week we have Sam Fuller's The Naked Kiss. So we watched a little bit of one of the bonus features, which was an interview with Sam Fuller in 1985. And I love Sam Fuller to the end of the earth. I think he's an incredible, or was an incredible director. I could listen to him talk forever, chomping on his cigar, talking about newspapers and what you got to do out there. And, you know, like, it was just a phenomenal little interview. So I'm really looking forward to Naked Kiss, another one that I haven't seen for a lifetime. So that's next week's. So I don't know. We have enough I don't own Paris, Texas. No, that's the thing. We're just going through the ones that I own. So unfortunately, that's not one that's in the library upstairs. But the amount of movies that I have, it's going to take us over a year to kind of, if we just do one a week, there'll be times maybe we do a double feature. Henri Georges Clouzot, I have Diabolique and Wages of Fear, and they're kind of back to back. So we'll probably do a double feature of that one. That'll be for like 2 weeks from now. So it's great. He's just really excited about movies and film these days, and really adventurous. He's always been adventurous. I shouldn't say he's adventurous now. He always has been. And he's of the age now where there's way more in my movie collection that we can sit and watch together. There's still some that, you know, it may be a little too much, that maybe he still needs a little bit of time under his belt before we check him out. Man, Hausu, I saw that. So we had Kayla Janice is her name. Kayla Janice. She used to live here in Winnipeg. She used to work at the Alamo Draft House, I think is it based in Austin, Texas? She's done a couple of books about Italian films. She has a documentary on folk horror that's getting released soon. She was able to bring in a print of Hausu that she screened at this uh, beaten down little theater downtown in kind of a rougher area town. And we went to see a screening of it, knocked our fucking socks off. Like everybody who was in the theater walked out of there just completely in awe. And that was before it kind of got its official Criterion release when it was doing a tour. And then as soon as it came out, I think Winnipeg bought up a whole bunch of copies, ordered a bunch of copies because everybody who was there, I think, ended up buying a copy when it came out. So it's one that I'm looking forward to watching again. But that screening was fantastic. I was dating this woman at the time that she was yeah, all right. You know what? No, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna go there. Let's just say it wasn't the best experience watching that movie with her. But maybe we won't go down that road. But so I'm excited about watching all these Criterion. He seems pretty excited about it too, and especially because it just the era, just the years that it runs. When I was looking into Criterion before we started our little film festival there, I didn't realize they'd been around since like 1985, putting out stories, putting out movies and releasing stuff on Laserdisc. I thought they were kind of 90s, closer to 2000-ish, mid 90s. So an extra 10 years on top of what I already thought. Um, so I'm really looking forward to it. I love kind of listening to music with my son. I love watching movies with my son. He's really thoughtful about stuff. Yeah, exactly right, Gore. Call your lawyers, and then I'll talk to them and see if I can tell any stories. Um, so it's really cool to watch stuff and just get his perspective, and just kind of see what he thinks of this stuff, especially with something like 400 Blows. Like the thing that kind of lasted with me watching it this time was, here's this snapshot of this era, and because it's kind of shot in this, part of me, it's shot in this way where you're mixing actors with kind of uh, everyday people on the streets, just getting that snapshot of that time period that will just never happen again. And it just, we're further away from it now. When I saw it like 20 years ago, you know what I mean? So there's even more time, not only has passed, but time has passed for me, and a different perspective, and more distance in a relationship with my own kind of childhood and things like that. Just fascinating. I think it almost worked more for me this time than it did the first time. I also think it was, I think, one of the very first Criterion movies that I saw, period. It was either that or Quiden, were the very first ones that I saw. Um, if it was either back to back almost, but I don't remember which one was first, like within a very short space of each other. My friend Paul in Ontario was a huge movie buff, still is. I talk to him every once in a while. And he turned me on to so much stuff, but Criterion was definitely the thing. Like, he was a hardcore Criterion guy, amongst other companies. So every week we'd go over drinking scotch and talking about movies, and just watch sometimes a double feature and just hang out and watch flicks every weekend. Really, really great. So yeah. Yeah, so I mean, when we watch stuff, I'll kind of talk about it too. They'll kind of work their way into these videos, and especially just with my son's perspective on it. Like I said, he felt that there was parts with this one that were a little slow. He really liked the first kind of 2/3 of the movie. He felt that at the end it dragged a little bit. I can understand that from his perspective. In my perspective, that's when it picked up even more, because now you're getting that complete picture. But I can see that it's a different kind of pacing. But again, it's, that might also be just a generational thing. But I say that out loud, and then I sort of disagree with myself, because it's not like he's watching stuff that's heavily edited and is moving really fast. So anyway, enough talking about that. Um, that is definitely it. So, like I said, tomorrow I won't be around. It's La Raza and Sleepy Reader, and I think it's Sleepy Reader's channel, but I mean, you're subbed to both of them. So tell them I say hi, and then I will see you all next weekend. Right on, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. We'll talk to you.